G'day, folks. AoS Coach here, and I have an exciting new Battletome to show you. We are talking all things the Disciples of Tzeentch. You just have to trust me, bro, that I do have the book. And if you need, and you don't trust me, you're like, this guy's going to make up stuff like he always does. Well, probably will make up stuff, but I do have, these are really cool, by the way. I've got little special basing, so like they're a little bit taller than normal. But I do have the new kits. I am a Tzeentch player. I've actually been building, I've been telling Casper I've been building a whole bunch of, what did I say to you? I was doing 6 Screamers and I was doing 2 spawns. So I am a Tzeentch player. I am very excited. We are talking the new Battletome Disciples of Tzeentch. I'm here with the world champion of Warhammer for 2024, Casper Torres Karlsmose, coming out of Denmark. You played Disciples of Tzeentch last year as well. You played him at the WCW 2025. So who better to talk about all of the change? And my gosh, is there some change? So strap in. Casper, g'day, welcome. For the folks who don't know who you are, introduce yourself and what are you loving about this tome?
Oh, so that's a lot of things to talk about. But yeah, so really quickly about me and Casper. I'm from Denmark, rocking my Danish jersey here from national team. I played Warhammer for 5-6 years now, competitively since the start. I love competitive Warhammer. Tzeentch I actually picked up just the summer, so I have like every year I like to start a new army, and I previously played Beast of Chaos with tons of Thankors and stuff, and I thought, hey, I almost have a full Tzeentch army, so why not just buy a few demons and there we go. So yeah, picked up Tzeentch and played it at the World Championship this year. Ended up doing pretty good, so ended up on 6th place. It was a super fun event. I made a small video about it, so we'll drop a link here in the description below. So yeah, it was a super cool event. And about the tome, oh my god, that's it's a lot. I've really been spending like significant time before this interview, sort of trying to find the synergies and everything. There's so many tricks, and I'm going to talk more about this, but like the key thing is you can't have it all. So it's going to be so tricky building armies because I want all the tricks, and it's just going to be impossible to fit all of it in the same roster. So I think that for me is the sort of the key takeaway in this one. There's so much going on.
There is a lot going on to a point where, so if this is the first Battletome preview you've seen on the channel, we're going to go through the entire book. So I'm going to bring up like the faction and the rules and things. I'll identify what's changed from the index to the Battletome. And this, Casper, is the biggest change I've had. Normally it's like 2 to 3 pages, right? I've also recorded Lumineth. I think it was 4 pages. I could say that because Lumineth is dropping at the exact same time as this as well. But I think there's 6 pages of changes on the existing War Scrolls. We are losing 1 unit as well. We gained a unit. We've also gained a faction terrain. There is a lot going on. If you want to buy the Battletome, you're going to buy yourself your new shards, and you want to support the channel, check out the affiliate links down below. Element Games, Gap Games, or Warp Fire Minis, links down below. Much appreciated. Casper, my gosh, there's a lot going on. So we're just going to crack straight on. I'm going to bring up the rules. We're going to do our best. By the way, I've got points as well, so I can't bring up the points on screen. So you just have to listen in when we get up to what's changed, because I'll tell you the points. I'll tell you what's changed. Some things have gone up. Some things have gone down. Most things have actually gone up slightly. So slightly, like there's not huge changes, but there's been enough, like there's more red than green on this. All right, I am just teasing you all, so let's just bring it up. So first things first, battle traits you have noticed has fundamentally changed here. Your cheaty dice have gone, so you've completely lost your Master of Destiny ability. You've missed your Weird Flames ability. Like the burning stuff has disappeared. Your Flamers and your Exalted Flamers do have kind of a rule like that, but just universally, you're going to see your the burning is no longer a thing, right? There's a whole bunch of changes here, but what you are getting is a brand new set of, I guess, battle traits, and you will see it's here, right? So first off, you got your Eldritch Illusions, which is once per battle in the deployment phase, you pick up to three friendly non-monster Disciples of Tzeentch units to on the target battlefield to be the target. You can then remove those targets from the battlefield and set them up in reserved, marked by illusion. Write that down. That's important. This is going to be one of your key abilities, and something that if you played Tzeentch like I did, even back in first edition, where you had change host and you could swap things around, you're going to see stuff like that coming out of here, right? So you got this marked by illusions. Friendly units that are marked by illusions are destroyed at the end of the 5th battle round and not the start of the 4th battle round. So they're going to see a whole bunch of things coming into smoke and mirrors, where basically once per turn in any hero phase, pick a friendly non-monster Disciples of Tzeentch unit that's not set up using this ability in the previous turn. Then pick a friendly unit that was marked by illusion to be the substitute. Then you set up the substitute unit wholly within 6 inches of the target and not in combat. Then remove the target from the battlefield, set up the master unit that's in reserve. I'm going to pause for a second. Casper, because that's like the pause, then there's other stuff. Hey, Casper, thoughts so far?
Yeah. No, so I think two like my first 2 thoughts when I saw this, I think first of all, it's just huge, right? I mean, the fact that you could, let's say, take up like a big glass hammer unit, go up, absolutely destroy something, then the enemy is like, oh, now I'm gonna, destroy your unit, and nope, it's suddenly replaced with a Chiric Acolytes or a Spawn or something like that. So you can really use this super aggressively, and it's gonna be super hard for your opponent to to figure you out, which is cool because it's very thematic for Tzeentch. I think the other thing I noticed straight away is it always has to be replaced, right? So if you rely only on the battle traits, there'll be other things that we can come back to in a second, right? But if you rely only on these battle traits, if you start with 3 units in Masked by Illusion, you're gonna end the game with 3 units Masked by Illusion, because there's only so many abilities that can put units down without replacing a unit. So relying just on these abilities, you're actually going to finish the game like 3 units down. So you have to be really mindful of that trade-off between having insanely good tricks, but also risking sort of finishing the game with 3 units, or playing the full game actually with up to 3 units less than you would otherwise do. There's ways to get around this, and we'll get back to it, but I think that's a really key element, that you always have to replace a unit, right?
Yeah, so how are you thinking about this? So for example, I'll give you a couple of initial thoughts from myself, right? So this could be a great way to protect some of those more fragile critical things, whether it is your Zangors, whether it might be something like your Flamers of Tzeentch, for example, which are easily picked off. This could be, like, for me, like one of the ideas I've got in my head, crack ideas, is leveraging the speed of like the Screamers to like shoot up the board, and then I could like swap them out, tarp hit them with a reinforced unit of pink horrors, or even just a unit of blue horrors reinforced, and like really own that objective. As an example, right? There's probably endless combinations here, but what are you thinking about, like from this Eldritch point of view?
No, I have the same reflections. There's going to be so many, and that it's one of the hardest thing I would say to predict in advance. But for sure, the first thing that comes to mind is sort of charging something up, killing something off, and then exchanging it in the opponent's turn with something a bit more useless, like a screen of some sort. I think that's for me, the most obvious one. But I'm sure there's going to be many other opportunities. And importantly here, it doesn't have to be 9 inches away, right? So you can also just, in your turn, suddenly put down a unit 6 inches forward from your front line, and then maybe that's not so far to the enemy. Of course, you're not allowed to move that unit, but there may be something there as well.
It might be another way as well. Like, I was thinking about this, like if I've got a unit as well that's like, let's say it's a reinforced unit of blue horrors, and I need to get them out of combat. I need to, like, they've been whittled down for however reason, and hopefully they're not in combat, or I retreat myself to get out of combat. Like, I can probably get them and like completely swap them from one unit to another, kind of use a rally, bring them back to life. There's like just so many ideas going through my head that I can't wait to get way more practice with this, because I think this is going to be the real secret sauce of the faction. But to your point, you don't have to use all 3. it is an option. And the trade-off here is that if you are putting, especially like I mentioned, that reinforced unit of let's say blue horrors, or let's say I'm putting flamers, or my Zangor, that's a big block of points that aren't on the table right now. So keep that one in mind.
And maybe last comment to my first point about sort of finishing the game or playing the full game with a few units down. I think if you play, there's going to be different play styles with this army, and if you sort of lean full into the this trick, with the Mass by Illusion, then you need to play either, I think, the Law of Change or a specific battle formation that we'll come back to in a second, just to maximize sort of the value that this can bring you. But we'll come back to that.
Oh, and by the way, something that's worth noting as well, because this is a change to some people's play styles, is the spawn. Your Chaos Spawn of Tzeentch must be set up as a masked by illusion. So I know some people like to put them on the flanks, maybe to go for a weak objective, whatever it might be. It is now actually a rule that they must be marked by illusion. So keep that one in mind. Then we've got a whole bunch of other things here. So we do have our new terrain feature, the Silver Simulacrum, where we are setting one up on the battlefield, and then you can read all those rules. Traditional deployment, especially when you've got 3 manifestations, or sorry, 2 terrain features or more. But where I really want to get to is the last, right-hand side, right? This all part of the plan. So you do lose your destiny dice, but you've got this reverse destiny dice almost, where, so as it says, all part of the plan, you start the battle with 0 fate points. Then you gain a fate point if you lose the priority roll. If a spell cast by a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch unit is unbound, a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch unit miscasts a spell, your opponent gains control of an objective that you controlled at the start of the turn, and one of your friendly Argent Shards is destroyed. They're like negative achievements, right? Bad things happen to you, so you get a point. Then you get to spend the points depending on one of 3 things, or as many of those things as you want, right? You've got this Destined to Serve, the Destined Arcana, and then Destined for Battle. So you can see the Destined to Serve, you can remove a damage point per fate point you spend. You've got the Destined Arcana, where you add 1 to the casting rolls for a spell, and then you've got this spend a number of fate points and add 1 to charge rolls for the charge ability. How are you feeling about this, given that we've lost our cheaty dice, but we've gained this almost reverse thing? Because when I've got my destiny dice, I start with a pool and I whittle them down over the course of the game. This one, I'm starting with 0 and I'm kind of building them up over the course of the game. So it's a very interesting mechanic.
Yeah. So I think when I saw this just in isolation, I was somewhat disappointed. But as we will go through it, there's a lot more things where you can gain these points and spend them or use them for other things that makes it much more interesting, because I mean the way you gain it here, it's somewhat restricted, and actually as an opponent you can sort of control a lot, right? You can just decide not to unbind the spells if they don't feel that important. You can I mean, of course, if your opponent doesn't take the objectives from you, they're probably going to lose the game. But anyways, it's a little bit out of your control as a Tzeentch player, some of these things, how you gain them. And then considering how difficult they are to gain, I would say it can easily become a trap to spend the points on, removing 5 damage, because it's so hard to gain 5 of these points. So I think the charge one is definitely going to be hand. You roll that 9, you need an 11. You can add those 2 points, and it can be a game-changing moment. If you have a super important spell, you can spend the points to make sure you get it off. I think that the damage one, maybe in a very, very clutch situation, may become handy as well. But I do think as we go through the next pages of this, there's going to be some even more exciting interactions with the fate dice or fate points, that are going to be even more impactful, I would say.
I will say one of the things that I love about the reducing of the damage points, you're right, you don't want to be, it's going to be so hard to accumulate these fate points that you don't want to be just burning them out, right? But if I've got like my Lord of Change and let's say there's that Hellsmith rocket battery doing damage 5 at me, and that's going to pop my chicken, I could reduce the damage so it still survives on 1 or 2 health left. So it is situational, something that I'm not going to be using all the time, but it's a nice little get out of jail free card, especially for some of those critical units. I'm about to lose the objective. I'm going to lose a critical unit, like something that's it's going to be important to me. That's where I'm pulling that card out as a get out of jail free card. But yeah, like something like you're destined for the battle for the charges. There's some really good spells to no surprise. So pluses to cast if you need it. Helpful, but it's going to take a while to accumulate.
Exactly.
So given, like, before I move into the battle formations, this is a wholesale change to the battle traits. How are you feeling? Do you think you've lost more than you've gained? Do you think you how are you feeling so far at this point?
I mean, as mentioned, just looking in isolation here, I would say probably I've lost a bit more than I've gained, because I mean, flaming was huge, right? Burning was huge. Destined Eye is huge. So relative to fate points here, that seems a bit less impactful. I would say, however, this the smoke and mirrors replacing units, that's where you can make some really sneaky plays. So it's probably close to even, I would say, because both things are so impactful.
Yeah, I say that because if I was a Tzeentch player, and you're right, I just see this in isolation, I'm probably feeling really disappointed right now. Like, I'm probably feeling really gutted. But, like, there's a lot of positive things that are coming out. So bear with us. In fact, let's move to those battle formations and see what they look like. So we have all new battle formations, not just one, all of them are new. You know what? I'm not even going to read these out. Like, you guys can read these on screen here. When you look at, again, like what you had versus what we've got, Casper, how are you feeling about the battle formations?
So I feel like 3 out of 4 of these are really good and gonna tap into different play styles that I mentioned. I think the first one here, getting +1 attack on a 9+ charge. Important here, it doesn't say an unmodified charge roll, and we've just learned that we have, opportunities to add dice or add points to ensure those 9-inch charges. That's obviously going to play super well into like a Sangor build or something where you just want to stack up those attacks, and get a tons of damage. That's going to be an obvious build to go for. Then the second build, and I'm going to come back to why that would be super fun, but there's going to be a build where you just maximize everything in your army to get fate points and bank out on fate points, because you're going to be able to do insane plays in turn 4-5. And we'll get back to that when we go to the spell lore in a second, why that is. But there, the second battle formation is gonna be crucial. And then the last one here, as mentioned before, sort of with this Mars by Illusion, you always need to replace unit, but here you have an opportunity to set down a unit with the last battle formation without replacing it with something, and you're basically threatening from all battlefield edges. That's huge. So I think 3 of those are extremely impactful. The third one here, I'm more in doubt about, because I don't think you want to be using too many abilities all the time to spend the fate points. I think it's going to be more like few critical situations where you spend them. So I think that one is less impactful, but the 3 others are all strong and playing into completely different play styles. So that's going to be, I think all 3 are going to see a lot of play.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of interesting stuff here. You're right, 100%. Fated Blades definitely is towards the Zangor build. I will say as well, not that anyone is insane enough to do this, but with Screamers being able to charge 3d6 with a manifestation like Kronspine, if you're throwing 3d6 with a 9+, which is statistically you should hit that, you're getting +1 attack on Screamers. So like,
sorry, they can suddenly slap.
Yeah, they can suddenly slap. So that's not why I built 6 Screamers, by the way. But like, absolutely, your Zangor builds, Fated Blades as well. I agree with you on the fate points, the Malevolent Schemers as well. Great way to be playing into the fate points there. I personally will probably play with a lot of the Mutant and Mad things hideous predictability, just purely because I'm playing a lot of demons and planning to do a lot of the switching. So for me, that's a great little tool. Where are you leaning right now?
I think the first thing I have to try is the fate point sort of accumulation, where I just want to see how many can I get to, because you can do so insane spell damage if you get to a lot. But I think I will probably quickly realize that it doesn't work and then head back to the Fated Blades. So that's my guess.
Yeah, I think Fated Blades and Mutants will probably be the most popular of the two. We have a whole bunch of new heroic traits as well. So you can see here that we do have Grand Illusionist, we have Devolving Aura, and the Silver Summoner. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. Sorry. The Silver Summoner, was that a command point or was that a fate point? I think it's a fate point, if I remember correctly. So I'm just quickly looking at the Battletome. Work with me here. I think those are command points. Sorry, it's a command point. It's a command, yes. Pick a friendly, yeah. Any of those ones stand out while I just regain my thoughts?
So I think the heroic traits are a little bit lackluster for me. I think none of them are gonna be super impactful. A replacement unit is always nice, but as you see, it has to be a non-Warflock. So your sort of typical 20 Sangar build, you can't just replace it with 10 Sangars. So it's gonna be more to sort of one of your Carrick Acolyte units where you replace it with half a unit. So I think that's probably gonna see the most play. The Grand Illusionist could, in theory, be strong, but when you realize that your demons cannot use all your Mask by Illusions traits, and I think the demon would be the more fun one to use at the 3-inch move on, I don't think it's gonna see that much play. The last one, yeah, again, it's very situational. The control score modification is impactful in some games, but in most games I play, it's always, whoever takes the objective is the one who kills the other one off the objective. So I think none of them are gonna be game changing in my view.
Right, and where are you leaning? I think for me, I'm probably leaning to Silver Summoner, probably of them as an option up my sleeve. But I can see Grand Illusionist as well.
Yeah, I'm a Silver Summoner just because that I think in all games it would always come in handy. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that the Grand Illusionist works in the hero phase rather than like in a movement phase, I think does make it a little harder to play around. But obviously, you can't do like old murderlust shenanigans like that. They're clearly trying to stop you from doing. I think, yeah, right. Like there's some interesting stuff here, but certainly not ones to sing home about.
No. I think that'll be more if we turn to the artifacts.
Yes, yeah, and the spell lore, obviously. I was just looking up something on the Battletome. Yes, you've also got 3 artifacts of power. You've got your Fate Slicer, which is, I guess, playing into the gaining an extra fate point if any models were slain. This is end of any turn ability. You've got the Cloaked in Weird Flame, where you subtract 1 from wound rolls for attacks that target this unit. And then the Carrick Tome, which is a reaction where you're going to add 1 or subtract 1 from casting rolls for that spell. And this unit can use this ability more than once per phase, but only once per spell ability. I think it's a clear one.
I just have to say, I love the fact that you can now reduce your own casting roll, because this fits into sort of tempting your opponent to unbinding the spell, right? I love that. It's almost like playing Slanesh in Tzeentch, right? It's like, oh, I rolled an 8, casting value is 7. Let me reduce it to a 7. Do you want to unbind it still, right? That's a really, really fun play style. I love that.
Give me that fate point, please.
Yeah, exactly. Give me that fate point. Either you get the spell in your head, or you get give me a fate point. I think that's super funny. So, but again, all of these are, I think, quite obviously good. If you play into the fate point game, that first one by gaining a fate points in the model if any models were slain. Here it doesn't specify, so I assume it could also just be slain by spells or slain by ranged attacks, which means it could be quite easy to get on some ranged hero. Subtracting 1 from wound rolls, obviously good. On on the big bird you want to protect, or and yeah, getting +1 to all your cast. I mean, obviously strong. So all of these are super powerful, I think.
Have you got a favorite, and where is it going?
It's gonna be the same again with the first thing I'm gonna try is banking fate points. So for sure, Fate Slicer is gonna be the first thing I go for, and then I will likely in other builds go for the Charactome.
Yeah, Charactome for me is probably number one, although cloaked with Weird Flame as well. I think there's some interesting and good stuff there as well, especially with the Lord of Change. And one of the changes that's happened with the Lord of Change is that the weapon options have been kind of reduced. So it's now just one flat profile. So regardless of how you built your Lord of Change, it's now just one profile. And I think subtracting 1 to wound rolls, that's melee and shooting as well. So could be very, very, very helpful to keep my bin chicken on the table.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the reason why I'm in doubt with that one is, of course, because in most games I would anyways like to keep the hero sort of protected from combat. But of course, since it also counts for shooting, it's or works against shooting, it makes it really, really good.
Yeah, if that was just melee only, I'd probably put it as my, not worst, but like my least interested. But the fact that it's +1 to, so -1 to wound in shooting as well. Plus, you add in the fact of like guarded hero for certain heroes, depending on, what your build is. I think there's some good stuff in this. I really like it. We also have our spell lore. I love this new spell, by the way. Weird Flame Haze. Now, it's going to be really hard. It's like, how do I get both spell lores? Because I want them both. So you can see here, there's been some tweaks to Infernal Gateway, and there's been tweaks to Shield of Fate. But more importantly, we have gained a new spell, which is the Weird Flame Haze. We lost, oh gosh, remind me, what did I lose from this spell lore?
I think it's a reroll Destiny Dice, whatever it was.
Yeah, Glimpse of the Future. Yep, Glimpse of the Future. Yep. Obviously, that makes complete sense. There's no Destiny Dice. What are your thoughts on this particular one? Let me read out Weird Flame Haze first, because I really like this spell. So you pick a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch unit, cast a spell, as we always do. Until the start of your next turn, friendly Disciples of Tzeentch units that are not visible to enemy units more than 12 inches from them, while those friendly units are wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch unit that was set up in this turn. So here's that Masked by Illusion coming, and Smoke and Mirrors coming into play. Love this spell.
Yeah, I think first time I read it, I was like, "Oh, that seems like a lot of things and complicated and to make work." But then I realized, like, oh, it's actually quite easy. You cast it in your turn, and then in the opponent's turn, you do the Masked by Illusion and replace the units in your sort of behind your front screen, and then suddenly your entire backline is invisible for shooting and so on. So I think against those cannons and against those long strikes and whatever, it's just going to be a super good tool to keep your heroes alive back there. Your bird is suddenly, you're just not going to shoot at it. So then you may not need the -2 wound after all. Let's see. Because that's just, I mean, that's good, right?
What is also good is Infernal Gateway is now your new unlimited spell. Notice that the range has gone from 12 to 18. But given that it's unlimited, it does specify there that you can't pick the same target. So you can't just nerf somebody to oblivion with Infernal Gateway as well. You'll also notice that it has changed a little bit as well, where you roll either 5 dice or a number of dice equal to the number of fate points you have. For each 4+, it's a mortal damage. So obviously that Destiny Dice mechanic is decoupled from Infernal Gateway. And then you see Shield of Fate has changed as well, going from 18 to 12. And then the language has been slightly tweaked, although, again, decoupled from Destiny Dice. You still get the 5-up ward, but you used to get the -1 to hit if you had 4 or more Destiny Dice. You still get the -1 to hit. Okay.
So I have to say, I think Infernal Gateway, if you lean into that fate point build, could be massive, right? I mean, imagine, I don't know, I haven't done the full math yet, but I've done a little bit and say like, oh, if you've really lean full into it, and you accumulate like 20 fate points by turn 4, and you have like 5 wizards that then each on 18-inch range can deal like an average 10 mortal wounds for each spell. Like, it's just going to be a crazy snowball mechanism if it works out. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it has to be the first thing I try to go for, because you can just absolutely destroy in your magic phase, in your hero phase with the magic. But obviously you have to pretty much build your full army around just accumulating fate points. So it may not work in reality, but I have to see it on the board, because it could be so fun to just be throwing magic and destroying people at 18-inch range there.
If you can get the spells, if you can get this down, like if you can get that as quick as possible, it could do some serious damage, as you said. Like on average, you're doing 2 to 3 damage mortals on Infernal Gateway just without the fate points. But then you start dialing them up, and that could be very potent.
And then I think the Shield of Fate change is quite impactful. I mean, always having -1 to hit is obviously super good, but now it's 12-inch range instead of 18 does change quite a lot of the play style. So like when I played in Atlanta, I can spread out a big castle in 18 inches around Kairos, and knowing that I can always countercast the Shield of Fate and so on. Now with 12-inch, you have to. It's restricting a little bit your play style, I would say.
I was going to ask you about that, because 18 inches, especially on a large base like Kairos or the Lord of Change, is very generous. And I guess even more so if you're not taking a big bird that is not a huge footprint. So you might have to think about how much you extend from like the way you play the battle. By the way, both your spell loss cost you 0 right now as well, which is going to help as we transition into the Law of Change. So one thing I can tell you is that it is down to 0 points. So yay, minus 30 point savings right here. As you can see, lots of changes here from Bolt of Tzeentch is now casting value of 7, Fold Reality casting value of 6, transformed into a Spawn casting value of 6. And you can see a whole bunch of tweaks here on the screen, especially Fold Reality, which is almost entirely magenta. What's your read on the Law of Change, I guess, versus the Law of Fate?
So I think, Law of Fate, if you build into the fate points, has to be the auto pick. But in any other builds, I just think Law of Change is better. The Bolt of Tzeentch here, now, basically the way you played Law of Change and so on before in the I think it was the Weird Flame Host, right? Where you burning units get -1 to wound. Now just you have an unlimited spell giving -1 to wound on 18-inch range and inflicting D3 mortal wounds. That's just in itself insanely powerful. So I think, and Transform to Spawn has been nerfed a bit because now you can no longer put up the spawn sort of in combat with tons of units. It's just that one unit where you're casting the spell on. But the range has increased, so it's still a really, I would say, useful spell. I would say Fold Reality on it's different than it was before. I would say less powerful, but still really strong. And especially since I mentioned before, you want to really maximize your flexibility with this Mask by Illusion battle trade. So I think it's really good to be able to pull units back and to put them down and with this trade, I think it's still really, really good. It's not as good as before, particularly because you can't use it on your monsters, right? So you can't teleport your Kairos up, do a tons of spells, and teleport it back in the opponent's turn and all that. That's all gone. But there's gonna be a lot of tricks still, and this spell law is, I think, in most lists, is gonna be the most powerful for sure, mostly because of Bolt of Tzeentch.
Yeah. Bolt of Tzeentch went up, it was 6, now 7. And obviously the addition of the -1 to wound is very, very, very good. Transformed to Spawn has gone from a 7 to a 6, but to your point, range has gone up, but it's made it a little bit harder to play with. And then Fold Reality has gone from, was it a 7?
It was at least a 7, yeah, because that
was a 7. It was a 7. Yeah, it was a 7. It was a 7, but probably way more restrictions because it does, as you said, for example, it's now non-monsters. So it does mean that it's a lot harder to move around, Kairos and the Law of Change. Do you have a favorite? Like, are you leaning more into Change right now or Fate?
Yeah, so I'm gonna play Fate first to do Infernal Gateway and see if I can obliterate my my opponents with magic. But then I'm gonna be playing Change way more because it's just in all games it will be useful. -1 to wound combined with the other debuffs that the army still has is just so good. So and for reality to make sure that all your units stay safe and getting the spawn back. I think it's going to be so fun to play with all this sort of removing units and putting units back and so on. Your opponents are going to be so confused playing against you. So I think Law of Change is definitely going to see the more play, and I'm going to play that more, but I have to start with the Law of Fate just to see how many fate points I can get banked up and how much damage I can do.
Similar to you, but I really want to play with the Weird Flame Haze. I think there's some serious legs with that one, especially because I am planning to lean into the Mask by Illusion. My artifact is going to be based around that, so I think there's some good stuff in there. I think either way, regardless, Change or Fate, I think they're both really strong laws. And unfortunately for me, Transform to a Spawn is stuck in Law of Change, even though I want to play Law of Fate. It's always the case.
Yeah. And did we find out, I guess we'll come back to that, but there may be an opportunity to cast spells from both laws through the tome, but I'm not quite sure yet, but I guess we can come back to that later.
We'll absolutely come back to that one later. Lots of good stuff there. All right, so that is the I guess the overarching stuff so far. How are we feeling at this point? I am curious to play with some new play styles. I think there's some really interesting things here. The complexity obviously comes down to the unit selection and how you want to play into this. This is easy on the surface, but I think this is going to come down to like true mastery and the combinations, the synergies, and obviously like playing it through the battlefield. How are you feeling right now before we get into our new units, like our terrain feature?
Yeah, so I think what I really like is just the fact that you can choose different play styles. I think it's gonna be hard to make armies that build well into all of the different things. I think it's gonna be either the fate points or the Mask by Illusion battle trait that you're gonna be leaning towards. But actually, I like that. I like that you don't get everything in one army, but you have a faction where you can just really try out different things and make it work in different ways. And I'm not even sure. I mean, let's see. I don't know if that's too early to say, but in the past, it was like Law of Fate. You would only ever play in a Sangor build, and Law of Change, you would almost always pick in a demon build. I think there's going to be more sort of combinations now than just sort of two ways to go. I think there's going to be a few different ways you can go with this Battletome.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it is quite as obvious to say like, right, this is the path purely for this particular build. This is the path. I think there's a lot of complexity in what we've seen so far. What was I going to say? I was going to say something else. All right, don't worry about what I was going to say. Let's just get straight into the new stuff. And that first and foremost goes into our Argent Shard. Now, this is our new manifest. So, why I keep saying manifestation? It's a terrain feature.
It looks magical. Maybe that's why.
It is magical and wonderful. It's a terrain feature, and it's super interesting the way it works. I know when I heard it on the preview, like my ears pricked up. So we know we can basically drop it down and as per traditional terrain. But I really want to point you towards the gray box there. Now, obviously, magical focus is great. Once per turn in any hero phase, you can basically measure from the terrain feature. You can measure from it, so that's going to be really impactful, obviously, to extend your spells. Surprise. But the second one is the one that was really interesting to me because you get to pick this effect, right? So once per turn, any movement phase, if there is only one friendly Argent Shard on the battlefield, set up another Argent Shard wholly within 12 inches of this terrain feature, more than one from all other terrain features, more than 3 from all objectives, more than 9 than enemy units. Remove this terrain from, or you can use remove this terrain feature from the battlefield and set it up again on the battlefield more than 1 inches from all other terrain features, blah, 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 blah. So if somebody wants to remove this terrain feature from the battlefield, they need to remove both of them at the same time, because otherwise it's splitting, baby. It's splitting and splitting again.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, right, you obviously want to use this. It's a really powerful ability to put this forward and cast spell through it. But you will also just, you don't mind putting it right in front of your opponent, like 9 inches away. Okay, they come in, they destroy it. Great. You get a new one, and you get a fate point, right? Because you get a fate point every time an Argent Shard is destroyed. So it's like there's no really downsides. You just, I think you can use this super aggressively, and I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's a really good point, where traditionally you'd want to keep your first Argent Shard completely in the backfield. Obviously, you want to protect, you don't want them to completely disappear, but you absolutely can be more aggressive, and you can, put that first one down, grow it out, get the second one, be way more aggressive, measure those ranges. It has no attack profile. It can't do anything. It only has 6 health. It has a 4-up save, so probably not enough for like a basic infantry unit to take it down in one combat phase. Anything that's like relatively elite or has some decent damage will take that out. But like, yeah, you're right. You can be way more aggressive with this, get those fate points, move this up the battlefield. If they don't delete the second one, you're then able to move one of those terrain features and then move it across the board. So super fascinating. How are you thinking about using it?
I think, there's of course the restriction that the second one has to be wholly within 12 of the first one. So I think that first one is placement is going to be really important, right? Because if you place it too defensively, the second one will never get that far up that it's actually going to make a real difference. But at the same time, if you place the first one on your front line, then it's also going to be easier for your opponent to remove them, particularly if they can shoot or something like that, right? So I think that first one you have to play it somewhat up the board, so you can really push the second one up. And I think the second one, I'm just gonna always like put them, way up, as close to the as possible, so I can, do that 18-inch mortal wound damage to whatever's on the back line that my opponent is trying to protect. So I think that's probably the key thing. There are some spells also with shorter range that you may wanna. I mean, Shield of Fate, right? We just talked about this. If you don't want to put Kairos out in the middle of the board to cast the Shield of Fate, okay, we use the Argent Shard, and suddenly your range is actually no longer that restrictive after all. So I think it's going to have some really interesting plays for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. The way I'm thinking about it is probably front and center of my army. I'm probably going to have a unit of blue horrors or some type of screening unit in front of it, but it'll be mostly up from my deployment zone, so that you're right, I can aggressively grow it out, have that second one within 12 up the board. Might not be center of the board, might be towards a flank either side, but I think I'm probably playing way more aggressive rather than keeping the backfield. And you're right, going from 1 to 2, I'm still in my home territory, which might work for you, but I think we can be more aggressive with this particular terrain.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like other factions that receive the terrain piece, it's just there's obviously no downside to it unless you can give your opponents easy charge targets and so on, but it's just making the army stronger. So who wouldn't welcome that?
It's a decent size. I'm going to say this is a 60. Like, obviously that's a lot of change base. That's, well, maybe it's a bit bigger. Maybe it's 80. I don't know. I'd have to have a look at the box. Like, there's a lot of change. There's
looks like an 80.
Yeah, it might be 80. Maybe 60 was a bit generous. It's a decent size. It's not too hard to get around the battlefield, but it's also a decent size base. So anyway, cool piece. I love it. I'm so lucky to play. I can't wait to play with it. It's so cool. Anything else on this particular one? I think, again, you're going to start to see some combinations, things come out of the Argent Shard, but cost you nothing. Take it.
Exactly. Yeah.
The other thing you've got is a new Fatemaster. So we've got a little Fatemaster, cool model. Haven't got a chance to build it yet. I've just been so obsessed with my screamers and the terrain feature. So what have I got? So you got a Fatemaster who is move of 5, save of 4, control score of 2, health of 5, And let me tell you the points as well. The Fatemaster's points is 150 points. Its regiment options is anything that is Arcanite. And it's also got the ability where this hero can join an eligible regiment as a Arcanite Kabbalist. It's on a 40 mil base. So there's your pitch battle profile for our new Fatemaster. What are you going to get out of here? So you can see long in the planning, the 2 represents 2 fate points, where once per turn, army, enemy, hero phase, spend 2 fate points, then pick a visible, friendly Arcanite unit wholly within 12 inches to be the target. For the rest of the turn, the first time an enemy unit ends a charge move within 3 inches of the target, you can remove the target from the battlefield and set it up in reserve with the mask by illusion. You also have the bound retinue once per turn. Your movement phase, you can use this. This unit can only use this ability if it is marked by illusion. Pick up to 1 other friendly unit that's marked by illusion be the target. Then set this unit up on the battlefield more than 9 inches from all enemy units. Then set up the target wholly within 6 inches of this unit and more than 9 from all enemy units. Interesting.
I mean, that first ability is so powerful, right? I mean, you have a unit all the way up, pushed completely up in the front of your opponent. Now they cannot move. They have to charge you. As soon as they charge you, the unit disappears, and that was your opponent's turn. I mean, that's just super good.
It is costing you 8 points. It is costing you 2 fate points. We talked about how valuable those fate points have been.
Yeah, that's the one thing. And then the other thing, as I mentioned in the start, if you don't play into sort of all these things that can deploy units without replacing, you may no longer have 3 units out the board. Now you have 4 units out the board, and the only way to get them down is by replacing them. Now, obviously, he himself come with a trick then to deploy units that are masked by illusion. But you really have to be careful, sort of, that you're not suddenly putting your whole army outside of the board. Great that your opponent can destroy them, but you also can't use them for anything there. So I think that's the most important 2 trade-offs to be aware of. You really need to play into to be able to also get your units back, right? So you almost need, if you're playing this guy, you almost certainly need that battle formation where you can deploy within the battlefield edge. Otherwise, it's just going to be too dangerous to pull too many units off the board.
Yeah. Look, I really like the Fatemaster. I don't think it's an S tier. I don't think it's a must include in any of your factions. I think it's got some really interesting points. But I guess it depends, again, ultimately, like, how are you playing with your fate points? You are spoiled for choices when it comes to heroes. So you don't need another hero in your faction. Casper, why would I bring this in my army? Like what's the type of list or the type of build? Like, obviously it's Arcanite, right? I've got to be leveraging the Arcanite units. Who benefits the most from Fatemaster?
So I would say I for sure am gonna try a build where I'm just playing full into the tricks. And if you want to play full into the tricks, this guy is probably the first one to break, right? So because his ability there with spending the 2 fate points to removing a unit is just, it can really restrict your opponent's movement a lot. Because you can play so aggressively with the unit and then teleport it away again. So but I also think that's probably going to be, you build a full army just to do all the tricks. But if you don't actually have any damage dealing units, if you don't have any tanky units and so on, in the end, your tricks are going to be, not enough to secure the win. So I think I think everybody has to almost try it to play it, and there's probably going to be some impactful builds. But of course, if you place all your points in just these support units with the shenanigans, then where's the meat of the army then left, right? So it's going to be a hard trade-off, I think.
Yeah, like when you've got a Gaunt Summoner, you've got your Curseling, you've got so many of the units that kind of fit this type of mold. Great call around like what's this bringing to the party? If you're not playing Arcanites, then like what's the value really here for this particular build? I think it's really interesting for 150 points. It's a single cast wizard, has some really nice tricks, but you've got to be playing into a style. I don't think it fits into my demon build per se, but I think it's an interesting war scroll enough.
Yeah, well,
yeah, like would you take it in a Zangor build?
I think it could fit in a Sangha build for sure. But I think it would maybe even more play into a build of just tons of small units that are, there to annoy your opponent, not really to destroy your opponent, right? And I think there he would fit in really well.
Yeah, fair call. Interesting enough, it's like a B tier kind of hero. It's decent. It's not bad. It's also not amazing. Like, it's a cool model, so do grab it if you do feel inclined. Anything you want to say before we get into the weeds? Because there is a lot of change.
A lot of change in the lore. Yeah. No, so I think it's a little bit probably the same point I just made. When I look through all these smaller changes, I realized like, oh, I want all the small heroes, and then, oh, suddenly my army is only small heroes. So it's like, there's going to be every piece now is doing something very cool. Like whether it's reducing armor saves or whether it's, there's so many things. So I think the tricky thing in this book is going to be sort of finding that balance between having the tricks, having the support pieces, having all the abilities and shenanigans, but also remembering that you can't spend all your 2,000 points just on that, right? So it's, I think that's going to be the tricky thing because there's just so much going on.
I'm even thinking about this. Like, I was chatting to Discord about like, some of the more popular demon builds right now, and they both start with like a Lord of Change and Kairos. Like, that's almost 800 points now. I don't know if I can afford that. And then you start adding other support heroes. Like, to me, I'm starting to, like, as I'm building my list now, I'm now thinking, do I just do one? And I'm playing more with troops. I'm playing with more pinks and blues and brims, and like, just, am I bringing more bodies? Because I'm a little worried about the amount of support that I have available. But anyway, let's actually look at the units and let's actually see what has changed, right? So I don't think we can go into every single detail. I'm going to bring up on screen. And by the way, we have lost a unit. I don't think I've seen these very often on the table. It's your Zangor Enlightened on foot, not your discs, as much as sometimes I want them to be gone. But your discs are fine. It is just the on foot version. Casper, you going to miss this at all? Is this going to be like something you're going to cry over?
Yeah, you don't see them on my shelf back there. I don't have any. I'm going to be all right. They did see a little bit of play a few years ago, but no, it's I'm not going to miss them that much. I think the discs are so much more Tzeentch-y, right? It's cool.
Yeah, I might have seen them once in like a flash pan, but otherwise, yeah, it's discs. So, speaking of discs, I don't know, there's no segue there. Let's start off with a couple of things. I'm going to bring up everything that I've noticed. We don't have to, Casper, go through every single light item because we'll be here till 5th edition. But you can see here, there's a bunch of stuff that's happened with Kairos. We've got the pink horrors. Anything that really stands out for you, either as a positive or something that might make you reconsider taking Kairos. The first one I'll call out, I'm gonna jump out and claim it, is obviously the loss of the battle tactic switching shenanigans. So Kairos no longer lets you do that.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you almost don't need to say more, right? I mean, that was the strongest ability in the old rules, and taking that away is huge. I think they've given him some things instead, but I would say net, he's definitely not as good as he was before. He's a bit more powerful spellcaster, leans a bit more into that, but his actual spell he can cast is worse, and the best ability he had before is gone. So in a way, I like it because I feel like Kairos was the first thing you always put in every single army in Tzeentch before, and I think now that no longer has to be the case. So I don't mind it that much. I think we're seeing a slight point decrease, right? But I don't think it's enough to really justify how much he's actually lost.
Yes, so Kairos is now 400 points, so he's dropped 20 points. And when I bring up the Lord of Change has gone up 20 points. So Lord of Change is 380, Kairos is 400. Maybe the question today I've got for you there before we get to the pink horrors, because I love the pink horrors. I mean, yes, there's been some slight changes, and the Petty Vengeance is a nerf, but there's actually some interesting things there as well to pink horrors. My question to you about the Kairos is, well, let's rapid fire this. Is Kairos still an auto include like he was in the index?
I wouldn't say so, no. I see so many other units that could bring more interesting value, so he definitely can see play, but I would no longer call him an auto include for sure.
Is it still a good pick?
Oh yeah, I mean he still has the ability to turn the lowest dice for the highest dice and getting the possible to cast, and he's still the by far most powerful spellcaster in the book, and your spells are really good. So he is obviously still a good pick, but by no means an auto include anymore.
Before I ask you the third question about Kairos, then we move on. I do want to call out something that we have slightly glossed over that I think is really valuable call out, which is the improved beacon of sorcery there. So you'll notice that there's extra text that says that in addition, if a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch wizard wholly within 12 inches of this unit unbinds a spell, no command points are spent for that wizard to use magical intervention command in that phase. So I find that really interesting, a little ability there. Like it's just a freebie. Nothing's changed. You didn't lose anything in the Beacon of Sorcery. You've actually only gained there. So,
yeah. And you have that many unbinds, right? And so against any spell army, this is going to come in handy. So of course that in isolation is an improvement, but still, if you look at everything together, I would say he's not as strong as before.
So then my third question, then we're going to move on, is I just told you the points of Kairos and Lord of Change. Kairos is now 400, Lord of Change is 380. If I'm adamant of running two big birds, do you think that the gap now of having 380 versus 400, are you still taking a Kairos and a Lord of Change? Or is there now a world where you take two Lords of Changes? And I was like, yeah, assuming there's no points issues, right? Like imagine you can do both of them at 2K.
Yeah, I probably think still two Lord of Change wouldn't. I don't remember exactly how the abilities sort of are limited to once per army. For example, the spell he has, like I think he has a better spell than Kairos, all depending on how exactly it's interpreted. But I don't think you would have two of the same big bird. No, I think it's still better to have one of each, which I like. I guess I like that. That still makes more sense. But it's probably close.
You'll have the redundancy of the Summon Demons of Tzeentch, though. So I guess if you lose one big bird, you've still got one for the command. It was just a thought provoker. Chat, you can let me know in Discord what you're thinking. It was just interesting that like when there were like big points differences between the two, it's very clear. But now that they're 20 points difference, I don't know. Pink Horrors, I'll move along. Pink Horrors, you've seen the save move, so I think you've got a really good wound dense unit now. 5-up save, very similar to like Bloodletters. Yes, they don't do as much damage as a Bloodletter. I will say the impact of the Petty Vengeance is going to hurt a little bit, but I think you've also seen some improvements there, like the crit auto wound and the talons now. So I think Pink Horrors, not bad.
No. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be so easy to get -1 to hit and wound. And then with a 5-up save now, those are going to be hard to take out.
Pink Horrors went up 10 points, so they're now 170. Speaking of our Lord of Change, we can see the Lord of Change here. I did already say that it went up 20 points, 380. And I've also got the Change Caster, who is 130, got up 20 points. So Change Caster's gone up. Anything that you want to call out on this particular change?
So I think the one thing, I think the Lord of Change spell can be super impactful, but it depends a little bit if it's going to be like how exactly it's going to be written. So basically it's going to give a free move to a unit, like a normal move to a unit, but the unit has to end the move closer to the Lord of Change. But obviously, if that just means one model in the unit, you could do this, weird thing where the 19 out of 20 models move towards the enemy and the one guy moves 1 millimeter back. So if you're allowed to sort of rig it like that a little bit, I think that could be an extremely powerful spell. But who knows? They may change this to be sort of all models have to finish closer to him, and then suddenly the spell is not as fun. If there was not the restriction about that it was not set up this turn, you could certainly also see some very cool plays, right? That you sort of swap a unit out and then you move them back with his spell, but unfortunately you're not allowed to do that. So it comes with restrictions. So a little bit depending on how it works out, I think it can be quite good. And then in general, he's become a better spellcaster, and the -1 to hit aura still exists. And now that, oh yeah, by the way, now that counts for shooting as well, and not just combat, which really is an improvement to the demon build I see. So and then the change caster, I think, I mean, again, I want to have them all. You can get a unit to ignore all weapon abilities, of course, except for companion, on a 3-up or on a 2-up if the unit was set up this turn. That's huge. But again, you could easily spend all your points in support heroes. So yeah, that's the challenge that I was talking about.
I will make another call out on the Lord of Change. So you did mention that it's a 3-cast wizard now. So it's a wizard 3 where it was previous 2, which is great. When it's battle damage, you no longer lose a bunch of attacks. It's now losing a power level. So when it's taken 10 or more damage points, it goes back to what it is right now, which is a level 2 wizard, which is super interesting. And you'll notice as well that the summon Demons of Tzeentch is now costing you a command point, where previously it cost you a destiny point or destiny dice. And that keeps it in line with what we've seen with the Slan Starmaster in Seraphon. We've seen this as well with the Keeper of Secrets. So they're all costing you a 1 command point to bring back the unit at half strength. So interesting little pick.
Yeah, and slightly increased range, right? That it's wholly within 12 instead of wholly within 9. So
yes, good pickup. It is now within 12, which is very generous on a big base. We've got the Changeling and we've got the Fate Skimmer. The Changeling is... Where is my Changeling? This is my Curseling. Oh, it's called the Changeling. That's right. Make my life hard. It's 170, so it's gone up 10 points. And our Fate Skimmer, this is on the Chariot, is 140, so it's also gone up 10 points.
Yeah. So I think the Changeling to me is not super interesting. Of course, if you want to play into the tricks, there's going to be one very cool trick that I will come back to maybe on one of the next pages. There he may have sort of the one thing that you can redeploy a unit that was set on the same turn. So again, charge a unit, replace it in the opponent's turn, and then suddenly now you can redeploy that unit. That's a good ability, but is it worth the whole hero just to do that? I'm not sure. So yeah, he's not the most interesting to me. I think the Fate Skimmer, on the other hand, if you play into the Fate build, then he can really sort of help you accumulate those points by picking a unit that has to be destroyed that turn. So if you combine that with the battle formation, where also you can get an extra fate point by a unit being destroyed, you can really help accumulate those points. So I think that would see some interesting plays there. But if you're not playing into the fate build, then you will also not be using him at all, unless you're playing into the companion thing he has to get a crit 2 hits on companion weapons. But I think that's also, I mean, I think it's more like the fate thing that you would build into, if any.
I think there's some interesting things with the Changeling. The puckish misdirection, being able to redeploy a unit that was just set up if they're wholly within 12 inches. I think it's got some interesting play, especially if you're using non-shooting units as a part of like the Mask with Illusion stuff or Smoke and Mirrors. I think the other one, which is really interesting, and I don't, it sounds good in theory. I don't know how it'll work out, but even the Arch Deceiver being able to use a spell ability, measure, and I'm wondering if there's a nice little combination here with the Changeling and the Transform to Spawn, and I'm wondering if you're able to like pin your opponent a little easier through the Changeling. I'm thinking this one through, but I think there's some interesting stuff. But is it 170 points interesting? That's the question, because that's a lot for a little trick.
Yeah, and I also think it's probably doing a little bit, for my taste at least, it's doing a little bit too much what the army is already doing with the new faction terrain and sort of with the longer range in some of your spells. It seems super cool, but is it really game turning to have that extra range by casting spell through your other units? I'm not sure, but definitely, I mean, it has to be tried out, right? And also he has a good spell. I mean, the Horde Hero spell. That's sort of the only way to get it, and in some matchups that would just be very beneficial, but then again only in some. And yeah, I don't know, I'm a little bit torn on this guy.
If it was cheaper, if it was like 140, 150, I'd probably in, but like 170, that's a real decision. You've also got your Burning Chariot of Tzeentch and your Exalted Flamer. Your Burning Chariot is 110, so it's gone up 10 points. Your Exalted Flamer is 110 as well, so that's gone up 20 points. And the Exalted Flamer still isn't a hero, so you're not going to be able to benefit from Guarded Hero, for example.
No. But I think both of these are super good, again, depending on which build you go into. I think the Chariot now has an ability that in any charge phase, you roll d3 on a 2-up, you can make a retreat move as if you do a movement phase without taking any damage. I mean, super strong, right? You put this guy up in front of your army, opponent charges in, he goes out. And there's even a fail-safe mechanism, because if you fail the 2-up, you just get an extra fate point. Because if you roll a 1, you get a fate point. And oh, by the way, if you then play the battle formation where you get an extra fate point if a demon unit dies, you put it on this guy. And if you also have the fate skimmer, you get an additional fate point. Suddenly, it's sort of either your opponent charges and he disappears, or your opponent charges and you get 3 fate points by destroying the chariot. That's a win-win, and I like that. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it did lose. The Burning Chariot did lose the anti-monster, but it did gain charge +1, so probably overall is better. You'll notice as well, a lot of these units have gained shoot in combat, which I love. The Burning Chariot's got it. The Exalted Flamers, I'm pretty sure when we get to the page, the Flamers have it as well. So there's a lot of shoot in combat, which is great, although I don't want my Flamers in combat regardless. And what was the other one I was looking for? There was something else. There's something.
The Exalted Flamer has a super strong ability as well.
Yeah,
they're reducing armor. I mean, both buffing other flamers, but then reducing armor save.
Yeah.
Anything you have that can do that is amazing, right? So this guy is also, again, I want one of each. You know, I want all the units in my army, and that's gonna be the tricky thing. But I mean, that's obviously always a strong ability to basically give your army +1 rent board wide in a way, right? So yeah. He's really good as well.
Yeah, both the Heart of Inferno being able to give up to 2 units or 2 Flamers units +1 to wound rolls for their shooting, and to your point, being able to reduce the save rolls by 1. I love that. That's so good. So I'll definitely be taking one of these to go with my 6 Flamers.
Oh yes, I think the Flamers and the Exalted Flamer together, it's gonna see. Yeah, they're gonna be in most armies.
Yeah, I'm not leaving home without 6 Flamers. Speaking of Flamers, I've got my Flamers here, my Screamers here, and my Blue Horrors and Brimstone Horrors. My Flamers are 130, so they've gone up 10 points for every 3. My Screamers are gone up 10 points. They are 90 points. And I'm sorry to break it, they're still beasts. I know some people in Discord were like, please stop being beasts. No, they're beasts. And your Blue and Brims have gone down 20, so they're now 120 for 10. And you'll see why in a minute when we actually get to them. So, anything you want to call out on this screen before I jump in?
Yeah, I mean, the Flamers, you have to call it out, right? Because it's Burning is gone from your faction abilities, but now Flamers just have it on the War Scroll. And by the way, the only way Burning disappears is now if you roll poorly. So basically, any burning, you target a unit and make it burning every turn. And then for the rest of the battle, even if the Flamers are dead, on a bad D3, on a 2+, it takes mortal damage, and on a 1, it disappears. But here it doesn't specify that you can heal this away. So as long as you don't roll that 1, you will just keep on taking damage on a 2+ every single or end of any single turn. So, I mean, I hate to be in the destiny of sort of good rolls, but that is just strong. I mean, that's a really strong ability, right? So, so those are gonna see a lot of play, especially together with the Exalted Flamer. That's gonna be a serious shooting threat.
Yeah, and a great way to protect them, as we talked a bit earlier about, they might be marked for an illusion target. Mind you, a redeploy will get you out of range, but if you're trying to protect these, there's a couple of nice little ways to protect your flamers because they die to a stiff breeze, unfortunately. So, I love that. Thoughts on screamers?
I think you should have a Pfeifer.
All right. I'm not going to sell you on screamers, but like I've been waiting for a time where like I want to use screamers. And I remember in first edition, going back to like the old man, like they used to be great for change host. And change host basically was you swap 2 units, right? So you might have your pink horrors in the back, your screamers go out to the front, and then you literally just swap them out completely. I think there is some interesting play here. And what I'm thinking right now is likely a reinforced unit. So I love the idea of a reinforced unit. That is going to cost me, though, 180. So I need to work out how much I really love it. But one, being able to have it as a mark by illusion targeted, like swap them out, get them in. But I love this 3d6 charger manifestation. So it's similar to the Cron Spine. They did gain +1 damage on the charge. So 3d6 charge, if there's a manifestation, you're going to target +1 damage. I think there's some play in there. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're amazing. I don't think they're broken. But I think they're worth revisiting. That much I'm interested in.
No, I agree, and I think they were actually. I thought they were already quite points efficient. So you actually got they're 3 wounds each, so you get 9 wounds and a 5 up, 6 up, which is quite cheap for 90 points. So and now they just have
their 14-inch move. They're fast.
They're fast. They're quite actually surprisingly tanky. Of course, the downside is that they're flying, so they're easier shooting target. But against sort of non-shooting armies, I just think it's a good pick. They really play well into you, as you mentioned, right? You're swapping around units tricks because you have a super fast unit and get anywhere, and then you take that slow hard punching unit maybe and replace it, or your tanky unit and replace it. So that's some interesting plays.
Can I also call out, Casper, before we jump to the blue horrors? I want you to notice that the drawn to magic, that 3d6 charge with manifestations, is any charge phase. So I can use it in a counter. It's a counter charge ability too. So just keep that one up your sleeve.
Ah, okay. So wait, so you don't even need to spend a command point to...
No. That ability is any charge phase. So you'd be able to 3d6 charge in a counter charge is what I'm saying. You still spend the points. Okay, what I'm saying is that, like Kragnos, for example, with the 3d6 charge is only in your phase.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's strong ability.
All right. Screamer meta incoming. Please talk me off the ledge and bring me back to my horrors.
Yeah. So I mean the horrors are an obvious nerf that's gonna come here, which is that now you don't replace the blues with brims every time they die. You do it at the end of the turn, which is of course a massive nerf because it makes it much easier to remove an entire unit of blues. So that's why they also seen a points decrease of I think 20 points, right? And that had to come, of course, for them to still be playable. But so it's a massive nerf. I wonder if it does sort of. I think there's going to be a limit to where the demon build works. I do still hope and think that it works. And the point where it wouldn't work is if it's just too easy to get rid of 20 blues. Then then it doesn't work anymore. But I do still think it should see play, especially with the new points cost and with the improved shooting. I still think it works, but an obvious nerf.
Yeah, I just don't think there's a world where I take 10. Like I think when I'm taking horrors, blue horrors, I'm taking them in 20s every time because you're right. 10 will die very quickly with 1 health, 6 up save, 6 up ward. They will most likely die. So for me, it's a reinforced unit of blues almost every time, or I'm just not banking on being able to split again.
Exactly, yeah. I think that's how you have to look at it almost.
Yeah, interesting. Mind you, like a lot of people weren't taking 10 blues anyway, but I think it just reinforces not taking singles, or unreinforced. On the other side as well, I think we've done all our demons. I think I'm pretty sure we've done our demons. We've now got our mortals. So first off, or our Arcanites, we've got our Gaunt Summoner on disc and our Gaunt Summoner. So there is a little bit of consistency between the two. Gaunt Summoner on foot is 180, so he's gone up 10 points, and our Gaunt Summoner on disc has gone down 20 points. So the disc is interesting. So disc is 210, foot is 180. So it's a 30-point difference with disc.
Yeah. I think for me, the most interesting ability is this All Belongs to Tzeentch that the Gaunt Summoner disc has. So basically, you can pick an objective that you do not control now, but that you control earlier in the same battle to be the target. And now you control the target objective, which basically means that, maybe you started the fight in the one side of the board. Now you've moved the fight up to the other side of the board. Both you and your opponent are no longer there, but your opponent is controlling that objective. Now you swap it around. In many games, it's not going to be game changing, but in some games, it may just be what gives you the victory, right? So I think that's an interesting ability. But again, I could easily fill my army just with a lot of small support units with interesting abilities. The other thing, this one about not being able to charge terrain feature, I think I have to see it on the board to really understand how that would play out, because it's just a funny, weird ability, but maybe it could be super powerful. I just can't get my head around it. And then of course there's the Arcane Imprisonment, which where you can kill a hero if your unmodified casting roll exceeds the health. But that spell has existed before, and the thing is, you need to survive a combat phase to cast that in the hero phase. That's rarely happens, so don't build too much into that, I'd say.
Yeah, it's an interesting build. The Gaunt Summoner, I'm not taking it for that particular ability. It's nice to have. And I think the other call out as well is the Gaunt Summoner's base save has gone from a 4 to a 5. So it has gone from 6 to 7 health. And its ward has gone from 6 to 5. So there's a little bit of tweaking whether it's like the loss of the Book of Profane Secrets, Minions of the Silver Tower. It's an interesting scroll. And then as you can kind of see here, there's a whole bunch of things. I really prefer, to be honest, the Gaunt Summoner on foot with that lead and limbs ability with the casting value of 7. And until the start of your next turn, you have the target's move characteristic, as well as removing the effects of fly. I think that as a spell has some real legs on it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think anything that hampers your opponent's movement is strong. So that's a good spell. It's still, I think, an expensive character for just that one thing, but it's definitely a strong spell.
Yeah, 180. It is expensive. I probably don't have the points for it in my demon build, but it's still a great wizard, especially if you're not in demons. Oh, halfway there, mate. We've still got 4 pages to go. We've got 3 pages to go. So we've got Magister on disc, we've got Magister and the Chaos Spawn. Magister on disc is 150, so it's gone up 40 points. The Magister, yeah. I'm creating the dramatic increase.
Yeah.
The Magister is also 140, so that's an increase of 40 points as well. And then our Chaos Spawn of Tzeentch is 60 points, has not changed. So our first not change.
Yeah. So all these 3 units, I think I'm going to be including in almost all my arms, just because, I mean, first of all, the Magister on disc, that last ability you read there, while you have 6 or more fate points, add 1 to attack characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly Arcanite units while they're holding the 12 of this unit. You know, I'm a Zangor player. If I combine this with the sort of +1 to attack on charge, if it's a 9-inch charge, then you're 20 Zangors, because they are up to 3 attacks apiece. We'll come back to that in a second. That's going to be 100 attacks on the charge. And then you combine it with the Magister, who's just below here, who can make their weapons crit mortals. You know, that's... I know it's sort of, you need all the things and the auras and everything, but that's 100 attacks with crit mortals. That is powerful. And even without that, I mean, it's just so many attacks. So that's great. So yeah, Magister and Disc, he's going to see play even with a big points increase. He is super powerful.
Yeah, and you know what? Between the two, that's what, 290 for both of them, or 150, 140. That's well. If you're building into Zangors, yeah, it's well spent.
Absolutely, yeah. I think crit mortals is, of course, that's situational, right? That's if you play against those high armor safe builds. But then again, then that one Magister, he will just single-handedly win you the game, right? Because your Zangors become killing machines against those 2 up saves. Go in and remove a frigate or an ironclad or whatever we want. That's he's your guy for that. And then the spawn, I think you need a spawn in almost any list with this new Mask by Illusion battle trait. It's going to be the most obvious unit to constantly replace things with, and so on. So I think that's going to be in by far most lists. Even if you're not playing Law of Change, I would actually still see it used.
Yeah, I've built 2. I literally built 2. My dog ate my first one, legitimately true story. And I went out and got a recommendation to go buy the 40k cursed, is it a cursed cultists? And I built 2 of those spawns as well. So, yeah, I'll be definitely taking 1. Not sure if I'm landing on 2, but yeah, even without transform to a spawn, I still want to have that as my Master of Illusion, at minimum. Ogre Thermitage and our Curseling. Thermitage didn't change, it's still 130. Curseling is 150, gone up 20 points.
Yeah. I think I still prefer this Saki Ogre. So he's just so cool, right? Being able to teleport into combat. This new Ogre, he has a pretty cool ability where you can react to a spell and move 6 inches. It can move into combat, and any ability that can move into combat, I think most people know that's powerful. That can really block your opponent. The tricky thing is, though, it's 6 inches, so he needs to be placed, quite close to the opponent. And importantly, this is a reaction to a spell. So you can't, in the opponent's turn, you can't do the swapping around units, because you're going to be doing that after they cast all their spells. Because it's sort of you go the bottom of the opponent's hero phase. So it's a little bit of a situational thing, but if you're good at using it, I think it can be strong. And then the Curseling, he has a spell that can reduce armor saves, and I think anything that can reduce armor saves in this game is extremely powerful. So he's gonna see a lot of play for sure.
I will call out, though, that with the Ogre Thermitage with the 6-inch pile-in, you will be trading off the +1 damage from the Great Hooves Great Horns and Hooves, because it's charged +1 damage. So keep that one in mind. I probably would still go for the 3-inch charge, but I can see, you just want the guarantee, and it's still 6 attacks, 4s, 2s, Ren 1 for 2. So still a solid little unit. And yes, while we still have Soggy, like we're still going to have a couple of months of Sog left, but once that drops off, assuming that it doesn't continue, not a bad scroll. But certainly not an auto include like the current one, the Soggy one. Soggy one's so good.
Oh yes, yeah, that guy is. It's so funny how easily either the opponent forgets about him, or they completely overthink everywhere he could be on the board and plays super carefully because of that. So no, the Soggy one is great.
Yes. What else has happened? Second last page. Zangor Shaman, Zangor Enlightened, Zangor Skyfires. Zangor Shaman is 130, so it's actually gone down 20 points. Our Zangors on foot are 170 for 10, so they've gone up 10 points for every 10. Zangor Enlightened are 200, so they've gone up 60 points, quite possibly the biggest jump I've seen on a troop. And that's the same is also true on your Zangor Enlightened. So your Zangor Enlightened. So Zangor Enlightened are 200. Zangor Enlightened on foot are 200. So, yeah, very good. And your Skyfires are 160.
Yeah. So I think Skyfires is the easy unit, right? Because they didn't change. They changed the damage change, but it's from a D3 to a 2, so it's essentially the same. So I think that's the easy unit. Then top down, I would say Zangor Shaman is definitely worse, so I understand why he gets the points decrease. He can still give run charge now to any Arcanite unit, not just the Warflock, but I think he will still anyways use it on the Warflock. But then the other ability he has, I've been looking at it, and I still haven't figured out when you would actually use that. So basically, you pick a visible monster cavalry, and then the target's melee weapons have the companion weapon ability. So, I mean, you use this on a cavalry unit. Now it's not just the mounts, but also the riders who have companion weapon ability, which means they wouldn't benefit from any buffs that you've put on them. So I guess in that case, it would be a powerful one, but they would still benefit from all-out attack. And so it's a weird, very situational one. I wonder when you would have sort of if you include him in your army, you would really want to play into a specific type of army for him to actually bring any value. So I doubt he will see as much play. But of course, he's cheap, so who knows?
But if you're taking the Zangor Shaman, you're taking it for that avian swiftness for the 3-up run and charge. Like that's why you're going for it, right? Like that's like, yeah, the Wit of the Beast is interesting, but it's like super situational. So you go for the 3-up.
Exactly. You got to roll a 3-up for the run and charge, and I think you may have other movement shenanigans that you may not need him in most builds, but he will definitely still see play if you really want to build those move those Zangors off the board. And speaking of Zangors,
I'm just rereading this. I'm like, Zangors are already good, and like straight up, first off, that Savage Great Blade, removing that, just making quality of life. But what they've done to Savage Blades and Vicious Beaks, my God.
Exactly. So it's basically 3 attacks instead of 2, and gain crit 2 hits, which before they only had when they were sort of wholly within enemy territory. Now they just have that always. And then now when they're within enemy territory, they have +1 to wound as well. So I would say they've definitely improved their output. The one downside, sort of, even though quality of life has improved, but sort of the way I used them before was that, I moved 20 Zangors with Shield of Fate up the board. My opponent kills off 12 models, but I still have way more than half the output left because I have all my great weapons left. That synergy is no longer there. So I would say the full unit is stronger, but when the unit is down to half strength, it's significantly weaker than it would have been before. So I think that's always the thing with these special weapons. But I mean, they're super powerful, and with some of those synergies we've talked about with extra attacks or potentially crit models, they can be buffed and they are gonna do some severe damage.
Well, yeah, because if you get the +1 attack on there, for example, you're now 4 attacks each, crit 2 hits. You then start applying some of the other things, and these are just going to be a murder blender. Like they're already tough, and you can see why they're now 170 for 10. So they've gone up in points. They're very good.
Yeah. And then Enlightened, they've just become better in any way. So of course they have to become more expensive. So you basically, they gain an extra attack, you gain an extra damage, and potentially either an extra rend or crit 2 hits. So you've just buffed them in 3 different ways, the damage output. which thank God it finally came, because how many games have I played with the old Enlightened on disc? I charge 6 disc into you and do like 2 damage, and then I regret my life. They are now actually a damage dealing unit, which I think they deserve to be. They are expensive, so you really got to use them carefully, but I think they'll play well then with this. You move them up, you charge something, and then your opponent's turn, you replace them with a Chaos Spawn or something. I think that's going to be the way to play these guys. And I like that playstyle. I think it's pretty cool.
By the way, I just want to call out, with the Zangor Enlighten on foot, you can still play them until the 1st of June 27. So if you were one of the 3 people in the whole world that were running Zangor Enlighten on foot, you've got 12 months. Well, actually, no, you've got 18 months, roughly, or 16 months. So enjoy it while you got it.
Yeah, it's funny with those things. It's still people, just because they know there's going to be an end to it, they're gonna not play them as much anymore. And they already were not playing them. So yeah, I don't think they will see much play.
Rip the Band-Aid off. Rip the Band-Aid off, Casper. Now, here comes what I think is going to be a nerf in a second. So your Carrick Acolytes, not talking about you, I'm talking about you, Jade Obelisks. So our Carrick Acolytes are 90 points. They haven't changed. And neither has our Jade Obelisks. They're 100 points.
Yeah. Yeah, so both these have changed quite a lot. Carrick Acolytes have no longer a shooting profile, which I think is a shame. I played a lot of them, and I played them just for the shooting. However, they do now have a really interesting ability where in the enemy movement phase, if they're more than 6 inches away from the opponent, they can move X inches, where X is equal to the amount of fate points you have. And I told you that the first thing I'm going to try is build an army that stacks fate points. And when I have my 20 fate points and these Carrick Acolytes are flying across the board my opponent's turn, I think just that in itself is gonna be worthwhile. The whole game, I'm looking so much forward to that. So
I question if you can actually hit 20. Like, I know that's the example.
I'm gonna try.
I want to see you do it.
Yeah, exactly. I keep saying 20, and I'm gonna get there.
It's probably somewhere between 5 and 10, but you know what? If you can get to 20, like, kudos to you. That is some very fast Carrick Acolytes. That is a good little ability, by the way, but like losing, like it did lose a lot there. Like, it's lost some melee profile, it lost the bolts, it lost the Gestalt sorcery, it lost the Volkark, like you've lost a lot in that. It still is a decent unit, and that ability is probably saving it. Although the blades are not bad. It's the Jade Obelisks, and I think I just came from quite a large event, and I saw a lot of Jade Obelisks, so I get a feeling we might see a few less of them.
Yeah. Yes, I think you can read all the lost here. They've lost quite a bit of things. I do think that they still have a really interesting ability, being able to basically halve your opponent's move. It seems like permanently, if I'm not reading this wrong, as long as the Jades are alive. So I think it'll be sort of a binary unit now. Either you don't have them, or you have one of them in your army just for that one ability. That ability is also dependent on fate points, so you need a few of those. I would say like 6, 7, 8 fate points would be needed, because you will reduce your opponent's movement with the amount of fate points you have. Oh, now I lost power in my headset, so I'm gonna need to replace that in just a sec.
I can still hear you, but like while I stall for Casper, the big thing that I will call out, and why I'm saying Jade Obelisks might see less play, is the loss of the curse. So the stone curse resolve. So if you're playing this already, you would know that this ability would ignore all modifiers to save rolls, both positive and negative. So basically the all ethereal, that made this unit very, very powerful. Now you've lost that. So you're basing yourself on what was the save characteristic of the Jade Obelisk now? They were 4-up. They're on 4-up save, but you've lost the ethereal of it. So not that it's a bad unit. Like a 4-up save for 100 points is still great value, but they're not as tanky as they used to be.
No, I don't think you would ever see more than one unit in an army. But I think one unit for that ability, I think on an 18, I think it's 18-inch range, you're able to half the movement of a unit. That's strong, right? We talked about it before with the spell. You would buy a unit to cast a spell. Here you have a unit that just does it, right? It's it's on a 3-up. But anyways, it's good. It's really strong, that one ability still.
And plus you subtract 1 from Ren characteristics for weapons that target this unit while they're wholly within 12 of a Argent Shard. So if you had a unit of 10 who are sitting in the backfield protecting a home objective within 12 of your Argent Shard, they're essentially counting as a 3-up, right? Base of 4, reducing Ren by 1. If you had to do all-out defense as well, like this is a very tanky 9 block of models. So not that I'm saying it's bad, but I just don't think you spam them as you've seen in the past.
No, definitely not.
Love it. Finally, we've got the 3 manifestations.
Yes, I think the biggest, all of them's changed. So I think the sigil, the biggest change is you can no longer get +1 attack, which is probably fair because then you could go those 20 Sengas to 120 attacks. So now we are limited to maximum 100 attacks, which yeah, exactly. So that's fair, but apart from that, it still does the same. It's still good. The Tome of Eyes, if it's working exactly like it's written here, that would be sort of your gateway into casting a spell from the other law, because it says the target can immediately use a spell ability from the Law of Change or the Law of Fate. Let's see how that's going to play out in reality if we're actually going to be allowed to do that.
It sounds like it does. Because it doesn't say choose a spell from your spell law brackets law of change or law of fate. Like it says, it might be a day one FAQ for that one, but like I think we both agree that we would read that as we get to access all 6 spells, not necessarily just the 3. So that would be a nice way for me to tap into transform to spawn, even though I'm going law of fate.
Exactly, but I think that's just so good. I mean, I'm looking at this and I get excited. So I really hope that's the way it's intended, because that would be so powerful. We talked about it before, right? Like if you could have both spell laws in the same army, it would just make it so powerful. And here you have the ability to make you actually get that. So, yeah.
Can I also say, I haven't thought this one through properly. The Tome of Eyes now has a movement of 4. So I guess on one hand, it's going to help you screen a little bit. 2, I guess it's following the battlefield. Like it's an interesting little like go from no move to
I like that.
move. Yeah,
I like it a lot. No, because honestly, it happened in so many of my games. I cast the Tome of Eyes because I wanted to get pluses to cast in the way it worked before, and then the same turn I move away from it and I never use it again that game. That's a bit of it's a bit annoying because then you have to dispel it to cast it again or banish it to cast it again. Here, it moves 4. It's nice. It can follow the caster around a bit. And that's a nice change. I really like that.
Yeah. No, it's good for that moving castle, which is certainly how I like to play. The Mcryan, though, is an interesting one as well.
Especially if you have 20 fate points. I'm gonna come back to that. Now you no longer have 2d6 attacks. Now you have 2d6 plus 20 attacks. No, sorry, it's plus 2 attacks for each fate point, so it'd be plus 40 attacks with crit mortals. So I'm telling you, I'm gonna get to 20 fate points, and I'm gonna go in with my simulacrum, and I'm gonna put 47 attacks in your face and do a lot of mortals, and I'm so excited for it.
I can't wait to call this on the World Championships. I'm gonna, if you can do it, I'm gonna put you on stream and we're gonna call it, and you can prove it to me to my face. Like, I'm sure there's some weird like a world where you can. Like, realistically, like I'm picking this number out of my backside. It's probably like 7 to 10 if you really work hard. Like 20 is like everything is like coming up Millhouse. Like, go buy yourself a lottery ticket if you can get to 20.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm gonna try so hard, and I'm in turn 5. I'm gonna be like, if we had started the game now in turn 5, I would absolutely destroy you. I may not have gotten any victory points or anything until now, but if we were to stay at the game in turn 5, I would destroy you.
20 mortals. Great. I've got 5 models in that unit left. Great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, there's gotta be some gimmicky plays for sure. Those sort of those snowballing effects. So that's gonna be fun.
We've come to the end. We've obviously got 2 armies of renown, so like, don't end the video here, guys. We will. And anyone who likes the old cheaty dice, we've got something for you. We've got something for you. But like, as we kind of draw to a close, at least on the normal Battletome, I'm going to call it normal Battletome. How are you feeling as a Tzeentch player, right? So you've obviously played this now for a while. You took them to World Championships. You were the best Tzeentch at World Champs, being a former World Champ as well. What's the good, the bad, the different? Yeah, like what's the I guess the summary before we go into AoRs?
Yeah, there's a lot, right? But I think there's going to be some players who are disappointed because they really liked what was before. But I think if you look really open-eyed at the new opportunities, I really see a lot of different sort of new types of stereotypes of builds that I really like. So either you play fully into the removing and adding units anywhere on the table, which I find is super cool. It's sort of one way of playing Tzeentch, which I really like. I think that's cool. There's the other one, which is the Fate build that you hear. I'm quite excited about. Just going for those Fate points and really accumulating to become weak early game, but super strong late game, which could be an interesting way of playing. Then there's the third build of just going fully for the buffs, right? Getting the +1 attack on charge, getting the +1 attack from the is it the Magister? I think it's the Magister and Disc or something.
Yeah.
So really just going for all those buffs and just powering up your units and with the Shield of Fate, making them like impossible to kill. And you're not going to be able to do all those things in the same build, but you're going to have a lot of fun, tapping into different builds and finding, how many of those support units do you want in your army to do funny shenanigans with your opponent and reducing their move, reducing their armor save. You have all the tools. You just need to, the biggest constraint is going to be your points and how you decide to put your army together. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited.
I just realized something brand new that you don't even know. I literally just picked this up. I'll share it in a second. I agree with you. And I think one thing that's really interesting is I think you and I are very different ends of the spectrum, right? You're playing very heavily right now into the Fate points. I'm playing very heavily into the Smoke and Mirrors. And I've got a lot of excitement on that particular style, and it feels very Tzeentch to me. Like, it feels very Tzeentch to be able to move things around, swap units around, and very counterplay style of build. But yes, you can absolutely put on a whole bunch of buffs. There's a whole bunch of, I think there's a lot of interesting builds here, and I'm very curious to unpack this. Some things might be a little, like, I think maybe the points increases might have been too aggressive. Like, I wonder if some points will go down. I do wonder. But Casper, here's the hot scoop. You ready for this one? You're going to laugh your ass off, or at least I've laughed my ass off. Are you ready for this one?
Oh, yes.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah. All right. I have no idea what to talk about. I'm excited.
No, that's the beauty of this. You have no idea what I'm going to tell you because I haven't shared this with you, but I just noticed it. So there are 2 regiments of renown. One is, and by the way, this doesn't matter, but like it does matter. So the normal one, we've got the Seekers of Silver, which is a Gaunt Summoner with a Magister on disc and Screamers. Cool. Chaos can go take it. It's 380 points of goodness. All right, ready for the other one? The other one is the Changeling. And the Changeling's got a whole bunch of stuff. Guess who can take it, Casper?
Please don't say any army or...
Cities of Sigma, Daughters of Cain, Flesh Eater Courts, Fire Slayers, Gloomspike Gits, Slanesh, Hellsmiths, Deepkin, Ironjaws, Carriage Overlords, Cruel Boys, Lumineth, Maggotkin, Nighthawk, Ogres, Ossiarchman Reapers, Seraphon, Skavens, Slaves to Darkness, Soulblight, Stormcast, Sylphanet.
Oh no. Any army. Or maybe that Korn. Maybe Korn was not there. I'm not sure.
No Korn.
Oh god. Yeah. I guess it's thematic somehow, right? It's like the Changeling is he's fitting in.
Well, funnily enough, one of the rules is incognito, where basically you set this unit up in reserve, it's been deployed, and then a friendly incognito unit. You then do a bait and switch. So this unit can use this ability, pick a friendly unit and a friendly infantry hero that's target. You'd set it up on the battlefield, do a whole bunch of little shenanigans. Oh, it has an interesting spell with like an anti-charge, and targets cannot use a move ability. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, interesting. All right, there's some funny. All right, anyway, that's actually hilarious.
That is funny.
That's dumb as all hell. So now he's a wizard, right? So Kharadron overlords could ally this changeling into their army, get themselves a wizard, a 5-up ward, 2-cast wizard.
Yeah, I wonder. Then you can pick a manifestation law as well, and like try a whole new KO builds. Yeah,
2-cast wizard. All right, I'm gonna move along. I'm laughing my ass off for 170 points. That's not bad. If I don't have a wizard in my army, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's a super interesting way to get it.
That's really interesting. I literally just noticed this as we're talking. So what I didn't just notice, because I've actually planned this, is there is obviously 2 armies of renown. So this one is the Change-Cult Uprising. I'm not going to read out every single ability here. Feel free to pause it, but what you will see here is that the army roster is based around any non-Warflock Arcanite units. You can't have your regiments of renown, but you can have your faction terrain. Any initial thoughts on this one? Like we are seeing the Simulacrum there, so you will get your terrain feature as well. Like when you look at this particular army of renown, like what's the archetype, or what's the units that you really liked from this particular one?
So I think this one I'm the least excited about. I guess when I say roster options, to say non-Warflock Arcanite, I'm thinking, isn't it just Chiric Acolytes and Jade Obelisk that is short of your foot troops, right? Or is
so Curseling,
all the heroes?
So Curseling, Fatemaster, Magisters, Ogreoid Thermitage, Jade Obelisks, Chiric Acolytes. That's your army.
Yeah, that's restrictive. I think that'll be super hard to make sort of any competitive builds out of this, because I guess it's just going to be an army of mostly heroes. So, but there's some interesting things about, like being able to turn off commands, and I think there was something about like getting an opponent hero to fight their own units and stuff like that. But it seems like a gimmick army, right? That's I doubt it. We've seen armies of renown do really well before with Baleful Lords and the other Khorne one, but I doubt it with this one. I struggle to see it.
So normally I'm pretty generous. I'm like, an army of renown traditionally is like a 2-3, 3-2 type of army. Sometimes there's 4 1s in there. This feels like a 1 and 4. Like, yeah. I don't know if I'm being too harsh on them, but like this feels like AoS in hard mode.
Yes, and that one win you're gonna get is probably against another army of renown. I struggle to see it work, but who knows? I've been proved wrong before, so happy to be proved wrong on this one as well.
Seeds of Discord, is the thing that you're talking about. So spend 1 fate point, then pick an enemy model within 24 that's visible to the friendly Change-Cult hero to be the target. Then you pick an enemy unit, blah, 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 blah. Pick one of the target's melee weapons, immediately resolve the attacks made for the target's melee weapons against the victim. So almost like the old red mist or something that Skaven had. It's become Usharan does it as well, kind of. It's fun. It's okay. Then you've got some other stuff here as well. Like, it's fine. What's really interesting though as well is you get the entire manifestation lore, but it's got a really interesting sequence and it's a bit weird. Look, long story short, it's fine. It's fun. Maybe take it to a local 1-day tournament. Don't take this to a 2-day tournament. Please don't.
You're not going to have fun on day 2.
And like we just talked about, like Chiric Acolytes probably got worse. We just talked about Jade Obelisk just getting worse. If this was old Jade Obelisks,
potentially.
No, not new. No, don't do that. All right. Anything else you want to say from this one, Casper, or do we get to the other one?
No, let's get to the other one. That's more fun.
Right. Yeah, let's get to the other one, which is way more fun. So do you like Destiny dice? Well, do I have a faction for you? Let me introduce you to the Oracles of Fate. So if you're not quite ready to give up your Destiny dice just yet, you have to take. So you've got Kairos Fate Weaver, any Disciples of Tzeentch demon unit. You cannot include the Regiments of Renown or faction terrain. So this one explicitly calls out faction, where the other one you absolutely can. And you don't need me to read out Masters of Destiny. You know this rule. And you've also got this thing called the Ninefold Blessing, where once per battle round, start of your turn, you can use this ability. If the total value of unspent Destiny dice is 9, then you get to re-roll all of your unspent Destiny dice. Then at the start of your next turn, friendly Oracles of Fate, which is everybody in the army, has a ward of 5 up, and subtract 1 from save rolls from enemy units. Designer note: add together the values shown on each unspent Destiny dice to find the total value.
Yeah. I had to read it a few times and sort of do the math and so on, but I actually think it's legitimately like possible to have it almost every battle round from battle round 2 onwards, because you just spend a lot of your Destiny dice. You roll 9 Destiny dice. You spend the highest 5 value of them or 6 value of them in the first turn, and then from the second battle round. And by the way, you can easily spend them in your opponent's turn on the binding rolls or hit rolls or save rolls. Then you have total sum of 9 left. You do the math. You make sure to get rid of the Destiny dice you don't need. And then you do this, and your entire army has a Pfeifer board, and your opponent has one less armor save. And then on the next page, we'll see there's also an opportunity to then get an additional dice. So when you then do the reroll and have to do this again, there's going to be tricks to sort of keep this going. So I think it's going to be possible to have it at least 2, maybe 3 battle rounds of the game. This Pfeifer board and -1 save for the enemy units. So I think it could be really powerful.
Here we go. So we got yourself a heroic trait, you got yourself an artifact, you got yourself a spell and your manifestation. So you can see that you can replace a Destiny dice there. You can see you've got this. That's completely wrong. Let me bring that up. That is definitely not corrupted Laystone. That is a bad copy and paste from something else. Let me tell you what the Artifact of Power. Oh no, it actually is. No, my bad. That's actually correct. Sorry, I freaked out because there was a Laystone. I think it was in the Path to Glory.
You're good at remembering the names. I always just call out the ability because I forget the names.
No, I'm like, oh crap. Anyway, if his unit is contesting an objective, remove it from the battlefield, set it up again contesting an objective, and more than 7 from all enemy units. 7, right? Yeah, definitely 7.
Yeah.
That's good. I was just double checking the Battletome. No, the Battletome does definitely says 7. It wasn't a mistake from me. This is a decent army of renown. Like, this is definitely good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about it before, right? If you anyways don't play into the Fate build, then what are you then giving up from the other battle traits is the Masked by Illusion and Smoke Mirrors. But you get something in return here. I mean, you get still a teleport here at this movement phase. You get an insanely strong ability with Pfeifer board in your whole army, on top of the Destiny dice that are in themselves good. So I think there's something here. This will definitely see play. It's sort of for the all demon builds. But yeah, I think you could play this with quite good success.
The big problem is you're giving up your spell lore. That to me is the biggest problem, right? Is that because you can't touch Law of Fate, Law of Change. You're only using like Fate Weaver's Gift. I guess you could get access to those spells through the Tome of Eyes, but otherwise, like, you're giving up most of your spell lore, and you can't have a Lord of Change because it's what was it? Was it? Let me go back for a second. Let me just double check. Kairos Fate Weaver, any Disciples of Tzeentch Demon. Okay, yeah, you could have a lot of change, I guess. But you give up your spell lore, which is huge.
That is huge because the spell lore is what puts Tzeentch together. So it's still by no means as strong as the sort of the regular build, but it can see play and you can play it with, and it can be fun and it can be still pretty good. So yeah, I think that's definitely the one that stands out to me of the 2 armies of renown.
Yeah, and mind you, like, I think from all the armies of renown, I'd probably put this in top 5, top 10. Like, this is a solid army of renown. Obviously, it's restricted to be a demon only. You've got to have, Kairos Fate Weaver and stuff, but it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. I don't have enough demons yet, but you could see my Tzeentch here right behind me. It's only 2 of the shelves. Stormcast is taking up 6 shelves still, so I still need to expand my Tzeentch army quite a bit. But now I have a good reason to, because I really like so many of these new units or these rule changes. So yeah.
I have not built any of my war flock, and I'm going to hold off as long as possible because I've got like 40 pinks, 60 blues, 60 brims. I've got so many demons, it's not funny. But anyway, this is not me talking about my demons. Casper, what's our last reflections here, right? Because I know I'd asked you for the summary already, but overall, I'm feeling pretty good. Yes, we lost the Destiny dice. Yes, there's some things that have changed. I get it. But even with the loss of the Destiny dice, I'm actually relatively excited to a point where I've got a GT coming up in March that I'm going to play them. I'm going to play Disciples of Tzeentch. I am very looking forward to it. I'm a demon player. After last WCW, I got a little bit bummed when they got the nerf. Like demons really kind of copped the nerf after last WCW. I'm feeling very enthusiastic. What's your
me too.
What's your read?
No, I'm super enthusiastic as well. I think they are. I think I'm definitely gonna go through a circle of frustration where I want to play with all the support heroes because I want to use all the -1/2 save. I want to use all the sort of half enemy move. I want to use all the abilities, and then I gotta come down to finding the competitive builds, which where I have to find some balance in the middle. So but I'm excited for that whole period, sort of us just having to explore and try out things and see what works and what doesn't work, and where's that right balance between punch and tricks. I'm really excited to explore that. It's always fun with new Battletomes, and especially because in other Battletomes, I remember when Seraphon came out with 2nd edition. So this is nostalgia, right? But I could read the book and I could point out straight away, okay, this combination is going to be extremely powerful. That's what I need to buy, and that's what I'm going to play. I don't see that here. I'm like, I have to try out a lot of different things to really find out what works. And that makes me genuinely excited about this book. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious about the points, because when you do look at the points, it's mostly red, and that kind of threw us. I think that threw us both off.
Yeah.
But like, as I think about it, like Lord of Change went up 20 points, but it's also an extra level now. It's a three level wizard, not a 2. So I kind of get it. And as I look at this, 10 points here. Flamers, like, did they need to go up 20 points? Maybe they go back down 10 points. I don't quite know, but like, even still with like mostly red here, I'm feeling very curious and very interested in Tzeentch. So it hasn't harped me, and I'm really curious to play with Smoke and Mirrors. Like, I think that to me that's my jam. But I know you're the Fate man. You're the Fate boy.
I'm at least that's where I have to start. Try to make it work, right? With it, I have it to get to the 20, and then I can try something else.
Get your 20 Fate point, shut me up, and then you can go something else. Any final comments, thoughts, opinions, or if nothing more, do check out the video that Casper and his amazing production crew have put together. Give me a sample. Like, what's the elevator pitch? Why am I watching this video?
Oh, I don't think I could say that without sounding super sort of self-centered, because it's a movie just mostly about me and my experience at World Championships. So I think it is maybe for people who don't go to big tournaments that regularly and want a bit of glimpse inside what it means and what sort of the life of a competitive Warhammer player. I think that's one side of it. And then I would just say I've never played that many nail biter games as I did to this World Championship. That was crazy, and all of those are captured here on video, and my reactions during the game and so on. So I think it's quite fun. So I really hope people will enjoy that. It's definitely different content from what exists out there today.
No, it's great, and it definitely gives you an opportunity for you're somebody who is maybe a tournament player thinking about, like, how do I get myself to the best of the best, whether it's WCW, whether it's AoS Worlds, whether it's some type of, like, how do I get myself to the upper echelon and kind of like peel back the curtains a little bit. Highly recommended. I can't say I've watched the full 50 minutes that you sent me before, but I have watched some of it, and it was an absolute cracker. Thoroughly enjoyed it, Casper. Any final things you want to say? By the way, go buy the Battletome, Warpfire Minis, Element Games, or Gap Games. Can't wait to build this guy, actually. I'm kind of very curious to see what I'm going to do with this. I'm still obsessed with my not manifestation, my terrain. Everything's like basalts, as you can see. Like I've gone on basalts and basalts here. Might actually be really good for screamers because I freaking hate the stupid little stands. So I can put on like little, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going back to screamers. Like back to screamers. That's how excited I am about bloody screamers.
Reinforced screamers.
I'm just going to take 18. I'm just going to take all of the screamers, and people, I'll probably go 1 and 4.
But it's going to be fun, and you're going to be super fast. I think final shout out to me would just be to all the great Tzeentch player out there who are excited to play this army as well, hopefully. I mean, Bronya, Sweden, Alex, Sander here in Denmark, who's probably the best Tzeentch player I know, at least. So I'm excited for them to also show the magic with this army. And so many other good players out there.
Hopefully you see a lot of Europeans at WCW reclaiming their place of glory. So, Casper, thank you so much for your time. People, go buy the Battletome. Go check it out. I hope you found this valuable. If you're a Tzeentch player, I hope it's given you some initial thoughts. Casper and I are going to be definitely playing this, and we'll have more thoughts in Discord. We'll kind of share with you our journey and our experiences. And if you're playing into Tzeentch, I guess you've now got... you know what? People are going to be happy the cheaty dice are gone. But they're going to go, you can teleport units. Like, that's going to throw so many people off. Like, taking battle tactics against us, once we kind of nail that down, is going to be very hard. And I can't wait to mess with people.
Oh, yes.
And on that note, let's drop the mic. Casper, thank you for your time. Everyone, I hope you found that interesting. And there's also a Lumineth Realms Lord video dropping at the same time. So go check that out if you are a LRL player or you want to beat them. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging around until the end. I hope you enjoyed that video and you walked away with a few new ideas. Now, if you did, I would love it if you pressed like on the video, as well as left me a comment with your thoughts. The conversation will continue over on Discord, and the link is down below in the episode description. I also want to give a massive shout out to the AoS Coach patrons and YouTube members who are supporting the channel and the growth that you're seeing here. So cheers, you are all bloody legends. And until next time, don't roll a 1-1 on a spellcast.